Warning: the following video contains real stories of organized crime. It contains graphic descriptions and mature language. The views and opinions expressed within do not necessarily represent the views and opinions held by Chronicles or its affiliates. Viewer discretion is advised.
This episode details the criminal happenings inside the world of the Arizona Mexican Mafia. Before I touch on the many events leading up to this segment about the Arizona Mexican Mafia, this is a good time to introduce myself to the Perplex News viewers. My name is Manuel Medrano. My street and prison gang nickname, my placazo, was Cricket. The details surrounding my personal criminal story and how I entered and departed from the gang life will be published in another episode. From a period touching on 3 decades, I did time inside the Arizona Department of Corrections and the Federal Bureau of Prisons penal system. I was a member of the Arizona Mexican Mafia, and I am your narrator for this and future episodes pertaining to the Arizona prison gang dynamics and how the MA rolls in Arizona. Every state in the country has its bad actors and elite criminals who are considered irredeemable, incorrigible, and the most violent. Men who the prison administration would prefer to simply throw away the key and forget about. At one time in my life, I was one of those hopeless cases. The prison gang members I will introduce as we go forward are men considered to be the worst of the worst inside the Arizona DOC, the Department of Corrections. In 1996, I met JESSIE, also known as CHINO, inside Florence's prison's Iman Complex Reining Unit, a high security level 4 yard inside Building 6. CHINO, who is Filipino descent, had come up from the South Unit, a level 3 yard, and I had come down from Central Unit, also known as the Walls, a level 5. In Arizona prisons, the level system correlates with your security level from a scale of 1 through 5, with level 1 being the equivalent to minimum security and level 5 equaling maximum security. CHINO was bumped up from level 3 to 4 as a result of being written up for possession of a fierro, a prison-made shank. CHINO and I were at the Reining Unit for several months before he transferred out. After 2 years at Reining, I was reclassified down to a level 3 and transferred to Florence Prison Iman Complex Meadows Unit, still in Florence, and assigned to Building 5, which consisted of open dorms. On the day of my arrival, I was carrying my prison property, checking out my new environment, and headed to the back of the unit dorms to my assigned cubicle. I spotted CHINO, who was sitting on a bed putting together a picture frame out of cellophane. The fool jumped up, greeted me with a hug, and we bullshitted the rest of the day and night. On that yarda, CHINO and I were part of a youngster crew that was putting in work for the Mexican Mafia. CHINO and I were both esquina, which is a term used for the vatos considered soldados for the M. Another vato named Jose Barriga, aka 40 Ounce, who would also later become a maid carnal, was part of our crew. So CHINO, 40 Ounce, and I were amongst the fools on the yard doing the calentadas. Calentadas is the Spanish slang word for beatdowns and was in reference to M-related disciplinary actions that did not rise to the level of stabbing, severe attack, or removal from the prison population. These were attitude adjustments that kept people in line and primarily intended as warning shots. Later, in early 1999, the Department of Corrections transformed Meadows Unit into a sexual offender yard. Any convicted sexual offender in the system would automatically be classified and assigned to this unit and effectively placed on keep-away status, separated from the rest of the population for their safety. Like pretty much any penal facility in the nation, the prison underworld did not look favorably upon sexual deviants in the state of Arizona. As a result, CHINO and I retained our level 3 status, but I was transferred to the Santa Rita yard in Tucson, and CHINO was moved to the East Unit in Florence Complex and remained in Florence. CHINO and I maintained contact throughout our incarceration by corresponding with each other to keep up with our business. Sometime in late 1999, CHINO was reclassified and transferred to a minimum yard in Winslow, where he became involved in an incident and was bitten by a prison canine. On June 6, 2000, Santa Rita, I was involved in a riot against the Paisas connected with the Border Brother War and was stabbed in the neck during the confrontation. This resulted in many of us getting shipped to the hole in Florence, where the Chicanos were placed in one complex detention unit, or CDU, and the Paisas were housed in a separate CDU. In other prisons and in the feds, our CDUs are the equivalent of their SHUs, SHU programs, or segregated housing units. The war against the Border Brothers was on, and Chino and I kept each other informed on any ongoing developments. When Chino was released from the CDU from the dog biting incident, he was released to a yard called Kaibab in the Winslow complex, a level 4 yard. He immediately headed to the kitchen and smashed the Border Brother by slamming a metal tray in his face. Chino was then transferred to Florence and placed inside the Special Management Unit 2, which is also referred to as SMU2. It was similar to the Pelican Bay SHU units in California or the ADX Maximum Security Unit in Colorado. Chino was classified and validated as a member of an STG, Security Threat Group. This represented the highest maximum security housing for a prison gang member in the state of Arizona. SMU2 had a front wall and metal doors with small holes resembling a beehive, which became the name we labeled it. It became a permanent residence for some of the most dangerous men in the state of Arizona. It is home for all the performing members of the Arizona Mexican Mafia. On May 15, 2001, I was released from state prison, and I was already a made M Carnal. In late 2001, a fellow Carnal was released from the Florence SMU2 lockdown unit, the Beehive. His name was Carlos Garcia, aka Garfield. Garfield received his street name because he belonged to a Phoenix street gang on the east side called the East Side Garfield Locals. I was the one-man welcoming committee who met and picked him up at the gate, drove him to DMV to get his driver's license, took him shopping, and to visit some of his old friends. The weekend following his release, his family and neighborhood homeboys put together a welcome home barbecue to honor his release. Of course, I attended the barbecue and met a carnal there named Philip Jewell, also known as PJ. After a few meetings and social functions, Garfield began to slowly distance himself from the carnales and offering excuses for not being able to join us in the business at hand. Being part of a criminal organization requires accountability and participation. Once you join the Mexican Mafia, carnales are required to constantly keep each other in the loop because there are no secrets when it comes to the collective business of the M. Participating in money-generating operations and interacting with fellow carnales assures everyone you are constantly available, willing, and able to participate in M business when duty calls. When a carnal begins to make excuses for not attending M meetings, engages in not accounting to his fellow carnales, and not offering his services for participation on behalf of the M, the signal you are sending is of secrecy, unwillingness to be part of the enterprise, not interested in picking up a gun to take care of required business, and you begin to wave a red flag that is easily recognized by the trained eye. Criminal co-conspirators are always under the scrutiny of their brothers for signs of weakness. Garfield and I had a disagreement over a drug debt owed to another carnal by a drug dealer under Garfield's protection. A carnal by the name of Albert Carrion, aka Longo, originally from an LA barrio from Long Beach, was in the county jail fighting a death penalty case and asked me to collect money owed to him from a Mesa, Arizona drug dealer. When I called the drug dealer, he advised me he was protected by Garfield and that I should speak to him. The way the gang dynamics works, when someone is under a fellow member's wing under his authority, a carnal cannot encroach on another member's game or source of revenue. The person under that member's exclusive control is protected, as the saying goes. To ensure this matter was handled properly, I telephoned Garfield, who assured me he would take care of the matter. Later, I discovered Garfield had told the dealer to stay away from me because I was going to kill him. When I later questioned Garfield about this, he admitted having warned the dealer and again gave assurance he would take care of the matter. When Longo called me and learned I told him about Garfield's conduct, I set up a three-way phone call which quickly escalated into a heated argument between Garfield and Longo. Shortly thereafter, Garfield became harder to reach and was a virtual no-show at all events. The writing was on the wall. From December 2001 through July of 2002, I did a short county jail stretch for possession of marijuana and was released. Shortly following my release, I accompanied a fellow street homeboy and his jefita to a hospital appointment for his little brother. While in the waiting room, I was bored, headed to a hospital phone booth and took a shot at looking up Chino's name in the local phone book. Having lost contact with him towards the end of our sentences, I assumed he might be out of prison. He had a rare name. His last name is spelled CON-UI. And sure enough, I found the listing and called. He already knew and was glad to hear I was made. A meeting was held and the topic of interest was Garfield. After getting our heads together, Chino, PJ, Johnny Farinas, also known as Sinner, and I compared notes. The evidence against Garfield was presented and we agreed to vote on his future as a fellow Mexican Mafia carnal. We came to the unanimous conclusion that he had to go. Because Garfield had held more trust in Chino and was avoiding the other carnales on the streets, Chino would have to be the one to set the trap. On the night of August 25th, 2002, Chino telephoned Garfield and told him he and his wife had been fighting, that his wife had kicked him out of the house and Chino needed a place to stay. Garfield told him he was at a local laundry with his girlfriend washing clothes and offered Chino the keys to an apartment where Chino could crash for a week or two and invited Chino to pick them up. When Chino, Sinner, and I arrived at the Phoenix laundromat, Garfield attempted to escape, but we shot him a total of 11 times, the final 5 to the head, ending his life at the scene of the crime. A few months later, I was arrested while driving a car and being in possession of a handgun, which was found under the passenger seat. While housed in the county jail, I fought the case for 6 months and was found not guilty in a jury trial. Upon my release on May 22nd, 2003, I moved into Chino's house. 3 days later, on the 25th, a meeting was put together at the Embassy Suites in Phoenix by MM member Ernesto Carranza, also known as Dreamer. Shown in this photo, there were 9 carnales in attendance: Dreamer, Chino, Joe Garcia, aka Big Casper, Gene Lucero, aka Mean Gene, Noel Hawkins, also known as Little Chipas, Jeremy Worley, known as Tyson, Noah Cañas, known as Wildcat, Vincent Garcia, also known as Little Vinny, and me. We had no way of knowing we were like sheep being led to the slaughter. We would later discover this Mexican Mafia meeting had a dedicated audience with a ringside seat. Dreamer's concealed guests were members of the FBI Emmett Task Force, also known as the VSGTF for Violent Street Gang Task Force. The federal surveillance crew would capture every minute, with Dreamer orchestrating the show. Dreamer carried the rank of lieutenant within the organization and was able to elicit numerous admissions on tape from the carnales present without arising suspicion. Every criminal act we performed on behalf of the organization, from drug trafficking to murders committed, was caught on audio and videotape, live and in color. Dreamer's rehearsed pitch to us had us protecting a 15-kilo shipment of cocaine being transported into Phoenix by a group of paisas, Mexican nationals. Our role was to pick up the load and drop it off at another location. The meeting at the Embassy Suites would later become Exhibit A for the government, and the FBI had other plans for us. On the morning of June 3rd, we successfully made the armed cocaine run. That same night, Chino, Tyson, and I were at La Quinta Inn hanging out with female companions and preparing to distribute quantities of drugs. In the room, we had 20 pounds of marijuana, a quarter pound of methamphetamine, small amounts of heroin, and a handgun. As Chino prepared to transport the meth to Big Casper's house and was exiting the room, there was a huge bang as the VSGTF task force came crashing through, loudly announcing their presence and pushing Chino to the ground with their weapons, trained on all of us. Everyone was ordered to hit the ground and we were taken into custody. At this point, we were still unaware there was any connection between this takedown with the cocaine deal and the previous hotel meeting hosted by Dreamer. I went to sleep in my jail cell with no worries whatsoever. I was content I could beat the hotel drug possession charges from this arrest, but I would be in for a big surprise. The following episode will detail the forthcoming federal indictment and our journey into the federal prison system. I will also touch on Chino's individual activities in the feds.